Two things at once. Kia ora koutou. Thank you very much to Pauli and Laura and the MUV team and Startup Grind NZ for inviting me tonight. It's always a privilege to stand in front of a whole lot of people who've given up their time and talk about one of my favourite topics, just like these two ladies here. It's the easiest thing you could ask us to talk about because we've done so much of it. And so I'll just kick off. My name is Dale. I am a mum, I am a stepmum, I am a wife, I am an ex-wife, I'm a CEO, I am a founder, I am a mentor, I am a New Zealand Māori, I am a friend to many, I'm an enemy to some. I'm 44 years old and I'm a woman. And I say all those things because here I am standing in front of you right now, having failed millions and millions of times. And I'm so proud of it because I wouldn't be here without those failures and I wouldn't have learned all of that I've learned so far. I haven't actually, you should get to see this slide. There's me. That was supposed to be with what I just said. I'm terrible at clicking through slides. I only have time to talk to you about two of my stories today, and they're two that really, really hurt. One of them is personal, quite deeply personal, and one of them is totally about work stuff, and then I've got a couple of other slides after that. So, ouch. I wasn't addicted to drugs, so just to clear that up straight away. But up until the age of 33, I was what my parents called the golden child. I'm the oldest of two girls. My sister was the dark sheep. I was not. Up until that point, I was married at 33 for 13 years. I had two beautiful boys. I was at the top of my game of my career, helping run a multi-million-dollar business. I'd worked my way up. I owned 2 houses. I earned shit tons of cash. And I didn't want to keep doing that anymore. So I threw all my balls in the air and I left my husband and my children for a variety of reasons. I still had my children, but my husband had them most of the time, my ex-husband. And I left a job that had turned me into who I was and had built up all my confidence and all of my strength. And I did all of the things that were not in the rule book. I'd followed all the rules to get there and done all the right things with getting married and getting a house and doing everything in the right order, and it just wasn't right for me anymore. And then started a journey that was going to end after 2 years in horrific failure for me. I got a rebound job, that's what I call it. It was another great job, but it was the one that I didn't really need, but I had to do it to get out of the other one. I got into a fairly tumultuous relationship at the time, although I'm now married to that man very happily. But we both went on a journey going, hell, we're free, we can do whatever we want, we've got loads of money. And it was awesome, but also part of the grieving process of a divorce. And if any of you have been through it, it does take a couple of years to get over, and it affects you in lots of different ways. And I hid from that. Mostly, I must say, partying my ass off, a little bit of drugs and alcohol, bad habits that I'd never done before. And then one day I woke up and my feet were really swollen and my hands were really swollen, kind of like what it's like when you get off an aeroplane if you are retaining fluid. And it didn't go away. And my whole life had taught me that you must always just work through it, keep going. I'd had my health all my life. And it got worse and worse. And walking became difficult. I stopped wearing high heels, but I just kept on going. I went to the doctors eventually, and it turned out there was something wrong. But it took them 6 months to diagnose me. And when they diagnosed me, they told me I had an autoimmune disease, which is called rheumatoid arthritis. Only a certain number of the population of the world even have the gene for it to happen, and it has to be activated. And I'd activated it by putting myself up under an enormous amount of pressure, by throwing my life out the window and starting again, and it really affected me, and my body broke. They told me I had to take loads of drugs for the rest of my life, which I still do. I refused to take them because I didn't believe in them, and I was in denial. And the moment that I decided that I had to change that, 2 things happened. I was picking my kids up from school, walking, and I was walking like this down the footpath to get my youngest son, and a man walked past me. One of the fathers walked past me and he went, "Leg day?" And I said, "No, it wasn't. It was arthritis." And then my son, I got home that day and I could hardly drive with my hands, and I was lying in bed because I couldn't move. And my 10-year-old son, who's now 17, who's a skinny runt of a kid, he had to come, and I had to put my arms around him to get out of bed, and then he had to let me down onto the toilet so I could go to the toilet. And I thought, hey, it's a wake-up call. I'm failing my kids, I'm failing myself and my health, and I need to do something about it. So moving along to the next cool thing before we get into the lessons that I learned, Oh, shit. So this is a professional one. Weirdly, it was founded in 2014. We had some really great early wins. We got some investment. One of the things that you get told when you do a startup is don't make it part of your identity. I didn't do that. And 2 years into the journey, we decided we were going to try and raise $1 million. And I didn't know what I was doing. I've never done that before. Who's going to give us $1 million? Well, I'm going to go out there, and gave it 3 months of work. Instead of working on the business, I was out trying to ask people for money to see if we could get that. What does that mean? That means me getting up in front of some people, doing Dragon's Den stuff all the time. I had to go to Queenstown for a day at my own cost to present in front of people who just ripped me apart and then made me redo it and redo it and redo it, so that I would be prepared for one of their showcases, which I went to. There were 12 people presenting at that showcase. It was like Gladiator. You're standing up in front of thousands of really rich people, asking them to give you some money. I was one of only 2 female founders at that showcase. And none of them wanted to give us any money. So I did it again a month later, and I went to a different showcase, which was much nicer and friendlier. None of them wanted to give us any money either. And so at the end of 2016, I went, fuck, man, no one wants to give us any money. I failed my team. We need a new plan. These people don't think we're good enough. These people don't think I'm good enough. And those were all the things that went through my mind. And although, to be fair, we raised a little bit of money in January, after that, the failure that I felt for a year was long. I can put on a brave face and come up with a plan. It's something I'm great at, but my confidence was not. I started making really slow decisions, and I was too cautious, which slowed down our business. The team sort of lose faith in your confidence as well, so you need to learn how to push through that. So those are 2 of my stories, and we can go deeper, but we don't need to right now. But this is one of my lessons. The sun always comes out tomorrow. In fact, failure is one of the bad England, one of the best times to realize that time is your friend. The further you get away from your failure, the more perspective that you have, and the more that you can look back and reflect and see, what have I learned about that? And the sun does always rise and the sun does always set, and there is nothing you can do to stop that. So finding a way through that is so important. And resilience, as Kirsty's mentioned, resilience is a muscle. You cannot stop using it. So if you've ever worked out, which I don't get to do as much as I used to, but lifting weights, you need to keep making those weights heavier, but you've got to look after yourself. So you've got to think about there being many days that you have to risk, but you need rest days too, just like you do when you're working out. You need to fill yourself with nutrition, not just what you're eating, which is very important when you're a founder, and sleep. All of those things are important, but actually, as Kirsty said, who you surround yourself with from a networking perspective, from a support network, and the kind of information and messaging that's out there on social, what you choose to ingest is just so important. And then, even with my back against the wall, I don't give up. I'm basically just like Captain Marvel. One of the challenges I have is that, and this is something that's often seen as a negative as well, is I never give up. Weirdly is still going. We're about to raise some more money. We've raised several times since that journey when we didn't raise that $1 million. So what I have learned is you stick at it, surround yourself with the right people, and keep moving forward. Kia ora.